What's up, everybody? I hope y'all are staying safe during this coronavirus pandemic. It's hard to say if America is overreacting or underreacting. If you ask some people, they think we're all gonna die. I hope those people are wrong. But anyway, I wanted to take this downtime to talk to you about my gear and my bills. So we got 8 drones to go through, so let's get started. It's really windy today. So I'm gonna start with my transmitter. It is a QX7, just a regular QX7, off-the-shelf FR Sky, no crossfire, nothing like that. I did upgrade the gimbals to the M7 gimbals. I got a 3300 LiPo battery upgrade for it, and that's it. When I fly with my antenna up and to the left a little bit. And fail-safe is just something I just don't think about when I'm flying, because I don't really have that issue with fail-safing. I do get a fail-safe if I go like fly down a hill and the ground blocks my signal, or if I got a bad antenna. Those are like the only times I've really fail-safe. Moving on to my goggles, I have the SkyZone Skyo 3 goggles, and I just really love these goggles. Like, I don't know if it'll show up good on camera, but look at that color. The color is just beautiful. So anyway, I'm running the Vast Aerial patch. I don't know the exact model, but it's the one that's shaped like a cone. And I run a long range pagoda antenna for a dipole antenna. So yeah, I really like these goggles. I don't have any complaints. So I bought them the Friday before Fat Shark announced the HGO2s. They announced it on that Monday. I bought these on Friday. Had I known, I probably would have waited just to switch to Fat Shark, because I was flying the SkyZone Sky 1s at the time. But I don't regret it at all. If you read or if you watch most of the reviews on these, people will say the menu, navigating the menu with these buttons is really confusing. It's not intuitive, and that's true. But what I realize is with the OLED screens, you don't really need to go into your menu and readjust if you choose a different quad that has a different camera, or if there's different daylight. You don't really have to go in there and change the brightness or the contrast or any of that stuff. It just works for every camera. Like, the image always looks good. So first quad up is going to be the Acrobat 3-inch quad. This is a V1 frame. I'm rocking the Emax 1606 3300 kV motors on it. I just put a Runcam hybrid 4K split camera on it. I'm running the Lumineer Microlux stack flight controller and ESC 4-in-1 ESC. I got the Runcam TX200U VTX, U.FL antenna, Foxtail Lollipop to keep the weight down. I'm trying to start flying this thing more often, but the problem I have with these 3-inch quads, is durability. They're not as durable as a 5-inch, of course, because everything is smaller. Primarily, you'll find yourself going through a lot of motors on these. All those motors, the other motors out there on the market, they have 2mm shafts, and those shafts bend, and then the motor jams up. And yeah, you have to replace the motor then, or in fact, it's so soft, sometimes you can just bend the bell or bend the shaft back and keep flying. But ever since I went to the Emax 1606 with a 3mm shaft, I find myself bending way less shafts, and usually now the issue I have is just the bearings. Up next, we have the Impulse RC Apex. It's a little dirty, sorry about that, but this is my latest build. I'm using the Foxeer Falcor 2 camera. The flight controller is a DYS F4 Pro V2. ESCs are Speedix GS 45 4-in-1 ESC. I'm running the Zing 2207 2750 kV motors, but I have them throttled down to currently, I think, 75%, because they're, oh shit, bug. Sorry about that. They're really amp hungry, and I'm trying to get good flight time out of them. I really wanted 2550. 2550 is like the perfect KV for me. I fly 4S, and 2550 is just, I just really like that KV. For VTX, I'm running a TBS Tramp VTX, and this antenna is a Rush Cherry antenna, I believe. I hadn't flown it too much, but it is tuned and it flies really good. I really like the frame. I'm not so impressed with the Farcore 2 over the Predator series cameras. I'm kind of, I guess you could say it's not what I would have expected. A lot of people say it's really good, but I prefer the Predator camera over it. The next we have is the Reverb. I'm gonna say this is Reverb 2 because I have another Reverb that I'm gonna talk about shortly. But this is what I fly the most of the time. This is usually the first quad out. So it's the Impulse RC Reverb frame, Foxeer Predator camera, Hyperlight 2207.5, 2550 kV motors, Speedix GS40 individual ESCs, Joshua Bardwell flight controller, RDQ Mach 3 VTX, and a clapped out Strix video transmitter antenna. I really this is not quite my favorite drone to fly, but it's close to it. It gets the job done, and it always delivers. So Reverb 1, this is Reverb 1. So this is the first Reverb that I built. So actually the story behind this is, when I first started, I used to fly, I built most of my drones from Banggood, and I was a big advocate that you didn't need to spend a lot of money to have a decent drone, or a decent flying, reliable drone, and that worked out for me. But I eventually decided I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna buy something decent, I'm gonna buy a real frame, I'm gonna buy some decent motors, and I'm just gonna make it like a Mona Lisa of quads. And this is what I came up with. But originally I went with the Hype Train Ladrille motors, but I didn't have good luck with durability on those. I had the V1s, the V2s came out, and I just didn't want to risk it again. But when I had the trouble with those Hype Train motors, I was like, I really like the performance. They performed great. They felt really, really good. The drip motors were 2207, 2750 kV. So I was like, I gotta find a motor that's really similar to it. And that's when I came across the Hyperlight motors. And they have a 2207, 2522 kV. I didn't miss the 200 kV at all. I barely noticed it. But this is one of the better or best flying quads that I have when I discovered this combination. So again, the GS40, the Speedix GS30 individual ESCs, Joshua Bardwell flight controller, RDQ Mach 3 VTX, Strix antenna, Predator camera. Now those camera and VTX don't really have a lot to do with the way these two fly, but it just worked out so well. I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and build a second drone and have two identical quads, because that was something that people were also doing. So I was like, hey, I'll give that a try and see how that works out. So I ended up putting this one on the shelf because it flew so well. And in fact, it still has Betaflight 3.1.3 on it, and I just hadn't upgraded it because it flies well. And the matching props, I noticed that's just a big coincidence. Of course, the prop colors matching in each corner is not important either. But that's that. Those are those two quads. next one is Impulse RC Alien. Now, it started as a Martian, so the Martian is one of the Banggood quads that I had, and it still has the ESCs, which are Racer Star RS30 light ESCs. It's got a OG DYS F4 flight controller in it, the V1 with the straight motor power pads coming out the sides instead of the corners. It's got a big FR Sky XM, like OG XM receiver in there. I'm running the Foxeer Razor micro camera. Before these Emax LS2207 2550 kV motors, I had what are they called? RCX. Now RCX, those motors are like super tough. I still have them put up in like my spare parts bin somewhere. Ever since I like first started, pretty much those motors have been really tough. But this whole frame is now an authentic Alien. I slowly upgraded it, upgraded the Martian, top plate, bottom plate, and then I slammed it. All of these arms are Alien arms. The only thing that's not from the Alien is this bottom plate. That's from the Martian. I can't quite remember what the real Alien has to go between there. RDQ Mach 3 VTX again, Foxeer Pagoda antenna, and these Emax LS2207 2550 kV motors, because 2207 is where it's at and 2550 kV is where it's at for 4S, in my personal opinion. That's just what I want, hands down. And believe it or not, this is my best flying quad. I don't know what it is, but yes. Racer Star ESCs, DYS F4 original flight controller, and it is the best flyer. I don't know if it's in the frame or the tune, the weight, or what. Now I will say these 2207 motors for this KV is not as powerful as the Hyperlight motors. If you put a bigger, heavier prop on it, like the what are those, the Dow 5046, which is what I fly when I want more speed, it bogs it down, and it's not, you don't get any much more speed, and you lose flight time for some reason. So of course all motors of the same size and same KV are not made equally. And I'm going in no particular order with these quads. So the next one is this big boy, which is a Glide 6-inch. I'm running 6S on it. This is the only quad that I fly 6S with, and I don't really fly this one that often. I built this because I wanted a 6-inch quad to experiment with, and I said, okay, I'll go 6S as well. So this is a Glide 6-inch. For the flight controller, I'm running a, this is a Pyroflip F4 race flight controller, and the ESC is the remains of a Mamba F405 stack that I originally had on here. So I went through maybe 2 Mamba flight controllers, and this ESC has survived. I don't really have a lot of faith in the Mamba F4 stack, but this ESC is still hanging in there. So I went ahead, replaced the flight controller with the Pyro F4 race. The ESC is hanging on Mamba F405. I'm running Emax Eco 2207 1900 kV motors. I'm running on the back here, I have AKK VTX. I can't remember what model it is, but it's the one, yeah, that one. Foxeer Predator V4 micro Up front, I got a man, the wind is whipping, and I got the receiver mounted behind here like that. That's an XM Plus. This is a pretty light and open, kind of clean build. So this glide frame is really, it's pretty nifty. I really like it. I got the color standoffs in there, the teal going on everywhere, and all of my GoPro mounts are Brain 3D, by the way. I don't want to get sucked into spending more time and money in this hobby with 3D printing, so I buy all of my 3D printed parts, which are usually just GoPro mounts. I got friends who got 3D printers. I'll get them to print something for me, but 3D printing is just something I don't want to get sucked into, spend enough time and money. So yeah, when I first built this quad, it was just too fast. Like, for the way I fly, I like to fly at tight proximity, you know, daredevil type flying, but I couldn't do this with this because it was just way too fast. I couldn't hit any gaps or fly in tight spaces like at all with this thing. And I started to like give up on it and turn it into back to 4S or do something else with it, rip the electronics off of it, put it on the 5-inch. And I started playing with a throttle cap. So this one is throttle cap down to 66% throttle to get it to fly the way that I want to. And yeah, you can ask, why would you build a 6-inch just to fly it like a 4-inch, a 5-inch? And yeah, it's kind of, it's a good question. I don't know, but I can say it has like incredible grip and bite, like coming out of dives and recovering, and the authority is just way higher than you can find that you can get out of a 5-inch quad. So that's that. Up next is the X Hoover Skyliner by Reverb. So I actually got this frame on sale, and it was supposed to be an electronic swap or frame swap, but it ended up being a new build. So I put the Rotorite Cricket motors on it. You can see there's a gash right there in it. I guess that means these are pretty durable motors, or either the material is really soft. But these motors are 2306 2650 kV, which is the kV I like. It's a little bit wider stator than I like. I really like the 220. I'm sorry, this is a 2206.5 probably. It's a 2306 plus, so it's probably a 2306.5. And that extra 23 millimeter width shows up in the flight time and efficiency. So these motors are really power hungry. Kind of wish my other choice was going to be the Talon FAF 2207 2550 motor, 2550 kV motors, but I wanted to support my boy Cricket, and so I got these motors, and I'll probably just put a throttle cap on it and get that flight time back. It's not a huge deal, but it's just something I noticed. The flight controller and ESC is pretty similar to the Glide. It's the Pyro F4 flight controller. The ESC is again Speedix GS45 4-in-1. Now Speedix is not a popular brand, or a really, I'll just say it's not a popular brand, but they are really slept on. As you can see, I have it on most of my builds, and the reliability and the performance is like, it's really there. I would stick my neck out for Speedix any day. They're really, again, they're just really slept on. They're really good, and they're affordable. The price is a little bit cheaper than everything else that's out there, but yeah, you should give them a try. Now on the back of this thing is really tight. It's a really tight build. If you look at the shape of the frame when you get to the back, I have my receiver and a VTX back here. So the receiver is the FR Sky XM Plus. I run XM Pluses on just about everything. The VTX is a nameless RC Nano VTX, and it's all taped up back there. It's pretty tight back there. Fox Zero Lollipop antenna, and I run my antennas like some people run their antennas up like that, but when you run it up like that in the beam pattern, if you have a short stubby antenna like this, sometimes the battery can get in the way. So I actually run mine down. So you come out here, there's nothing out here, and then there's nothing out here. So you don't have to worry about your battery blocking the signal or anything like that. So I run my antennas angled down. And another thing you'll notice, you'll see for receiver antennas, I'm just gonna go back to the God for an example. Most coffin frames, they have a second row of standoffs, and I use those standoffs to tape antenna tubes to those standoffs and run the receiver antennas up out of there. And of course you want to make sure you clear the GoPro, and what that does is it gives you the 90-degree polarization or whatever it is. You have one antenna going this way, actually it's going like this, then your other antenna is going like that, so you get radiation, and 90-degree radiation, you get good coverage. So with this Skyliner it's kind of different, but it's still 90 degrees because I have one antenna here coming straight out of the frame, and then the other one is coming perpendicular straight out of the frame. And I think that's part of my success with not fail-safing all over the place. I see some people who just have really hard times with reception, and a lot of it is just how you think out and plan your builds and just keep them neat, keep the wiring neat, nice and separated, and you get that good antenna set up, you shouldn't have an issue. So to finish this out, I'm running the Foxeer Razor mini size camera on here. Now there are a lot of mixed feelings about the Foxeer Razor, but I will say, I hope I didn't have my goggles in the sun, too bad. The sun kind of moved. But I will say, with OLED goggles, this camera actually looks the best out of any camera that I have. My Predators, the Falcor, like anything. It just has the best picture, believe it or not. I don't know if it just works well with OLED goggles. So the advantage with OLED goggles is you get really vibrant colors, and the complaint is usually that the Foxeer Razor doesn't have vibrant colors. I don't know if these people who are saying that are using OLED goggles or not, but the general consensus is that the color is just washed and it's not really good. But I'm kind of baffled and uneasy because the $20 camera is outperforming all of my other more expensive cameras. The only thing, now this thing, it kicks ass in overcast light. When the sun is not low, it looks really good. But yeah, when the sun is low, it can be, it's still flyable, but you have to I don't know if I want to say struggle to see, but you kind of have to focus a little bit harder to see where you're going when the sun is low. And that's really with any camera, especially with daylight saving time now. The sun gets so low that it just blows out everything. Like even when you're driving down the street, you're in your own vision, it's hard to see. The carbon on this frame is like some of the best carbon I've experienced. Ex-Hoover, they did a really good job with the carbon. It's a really cute frame. Like I said, it's really tight on the back, and that's that. And lastly, we have the Schizo Nova. This is the OG Nova. Ironically, this is my favorite frame. It came last in the pile somehow. I picked it up last in the pile. But I think this was the second quad that I decided to build to be name brand. And this is my favorite. As you can see, it's a looker. It's got the stickers. I'm running the Lumineer Phil Freibot motors. If you are a old head, you probably know who Phil Freibot is, but I think now he's like a model or construction worker. He is like doing some cinematic stuff, but he was one of the top pilots to watch back in the day. And then of course Schizo, he's still around. So yeah, this is my favorite. These Lumineer motors are 2306, 2450 kV, and for that lack of kV from what I like, I usually run the Dow 5046 props on here to give me more oomph for these motors. They're kind of dated, but they still perform great, and they are really tough. Now I don't know if it has anything to do with this frame design having these motor protectors around here, but I slam this thing so hard sometimes that on any other quad the motor surely would have been toast. But these motors have been really tough and surviving. I don't know if it's in the actual motor design or the frame design. Again, running Speedix GS30 individual ESCs and a JBF4 flight controller, because again, that's just something I found that worked for me. However, now I have to say the JBF4s are not as durable or reliable as they have been in the past. Something's changed on them. They're starting to have the voltage regulator issue again, and it's hard to trust them. So what I did was I ordered 3 DYS Pro V2 flight controllers from Banggood. 3 for like $88. They came from China. I waited like 3 or maybe 4 weeks. This was right when the whole Corona thing very first started, so things were like being, I don't know if it was quarantined or what, but it took a little bit longer to get it than other stuff I had got from Banggood. Camera is a Foxeer Predator. I really like those cameras. What else? Another Mach 3 VTX Foxeer Pagoda antenna. And this is another quad that flies really well for me. I kind of baby it, put it up on the wall too for that reason. Also because it's, I mean, just look at it. It's a pretty frame. You're not supposed to fly a frame that looks like this. So that is all of them, my friends. Oh, one just fell. I think it'll be all right. But if you're still here, if you made it to this point, thanks for watching me talk about all of my janky builds and my stuff. Hopefully we can keep flying as freely and liberally as we do now with the whole FAA thing going on. That is, if the coronavirus doesn't take us out first. So stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you later.